All right, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? How is it going? I am Is There No One Else? And today's video, we are going to talk about optimization versus fun. I'm literally going to blatantly rip off Kuroyuki's video. No, so for those of you guys that watch Kuroyuki and steddyeddy, they are in my Discord, and we've been having discussions in the channel with other people for the last couple weeks now about optimization, fun, like how to make the best build and all these other sorts of things. And they both came out with great videos. I'll provide a link in the description for both of them because they're both really well done. There's a couple other things that I wanted to talk about, and so I'm going to piggyback on that same train. And yeah, I'm going to be the caboose in this discussion. Yeah, that's me. So they both did great videos. Kuroyuki did a video on optimized builds versus enjoyable builds, basically stating that they're not always the exact same thing for the same people, which I agree with. steddyeddy did a build talking about sets and how sometimes there's just better sets. Like some sets are more stat dense, and so although you're having success on a build, you can get more out of other sets, which is also true. And so I'm not going to dive into either one of those things. This video is going to cover, we're just going to talk about builds in general and why we're talking about this and my stance on everything. And yeah, we're going to try and come to an overall happy conclusion for everybody. But yeah, that's what this video is. I want to try and, this is more centered to help newer players that don't really understand optimization, because you look at sets, you just see sets, right? You're not going to know which set is better than which set unless you've tested or you've seen tests, whatever. But I can help give you tips to where when you're looking for your PvP build, how to figure out where to start. And oftentimes it's going to come down to your own specific testing. Like that's just what it is. Like in order to find the best build for you, you're gonna have to do some tests. You're gonna have some flops. You're gonna have some failures, but this will help you have less failures. That's the goal with this video. So before we dive into this, let's just all acknowledge that we're all different people. I think we can all acknowledge that. I'm sure there's gonna be somebody in the comment section now. We are not all different people. It happens. We're on the internet. Everybody's got to argue about something. So I get it, but we're all different people. Some people get enjoyment out of, and I'm just gonna do some types of people that you see in PvP. Number one, you have the meta humper, right? They hop on the best class with the best build every single patch. So all of a sudden, they're a really good bombing magic and nightblade. Next thing, they're a magic and necromancer bomber. And then the next thing, they are a stamina necromancer. And so they just bounce from patch to patch to patch to whatever the flavor of the month that patch is. And there's nothing wrong with that. People get enjoyment out of having the best build possible and the best class possible. They want to put themselves in the best position possible to win and succeed. There's nothing wrong with that at all. On the other end, well, a little bit farther down the sliding scale, you have people that want to run the best build on their favorite class. They're not going to meta hump to another class, but they want to find the best build for their class because they enjoy that class so much that it doesn't matter what the best is. They want to play their class. And so that's what they do. You go a little bit further down, you get people that start to get a little bit more creative. And they're like, you know what? This is my favorite class. I don't want to run the best build on my best class. I want to run some goofy ass shit and get kills with it in a unique way and succeed. And I'm basically going to like up the difficulty to hard mode. And I want to just try and have a more unique build. This is my build. Like this is going to be my build that I have success with that isn't what everybody else is running. There's a lot of people in here. And it's successful because A, they're good players, and B, they found a unique setup and it works for them, and that's great. And then on the furthest end, you have people that are just running not very good builds. And they're not running very good builds for a lot of different reasons. Number one, there's a lot of bias in PvP. A lot of bias, and the bias comes from success. So if you're in a large group and you're getting a lot of AP and subsequently a lot of kills, some people believe that their build is good because they have a lot of AP and kills. I can't tell you how many times I've read like area chat and people were like, yeah, everybody makes fun of my build, but I'm here top 5 in top 5 in alliance points for the campaign week after week after week. Like, dude, all it takes for you to be top 5 in alliance points is to have an apartment with 3 dudes, some free time or rotating free time, and you all just take turns being in the game. Time in game is all that matters for EMP pushes and alliance point pushes, really, especially in a month-long campaign. If you're on 2 or 3 times as long as other groups, you don't have to be as good as them because you're on way more than they are. That's all that matters. And so people will have a bias and they're like, hey, you know, I'm successful, so therefore my build is good. And I've seen people run some really bad builds and they tie that success to their build being good. And then they get stuck in bad builds, but it doesn't really matter a whole lot because they're in a 30-man. And so people will tie success in the alliance campaign to bad builds, or they'll tie 30v5ing people and winning. Like when you're running in a 30-man, you win a lot. Like you win a lot because you just have more people than everybody else. And so people will go, oh man, we dominate the map. Every time we hop on, we take everything. My build is the fucking shit, okay? You should run my build. I'm a 5-star. And you see that a lot too. And there's a big difference. Like I said, there's a big difference between how you have your success. And there's nothing wrong. Like if you want to run in a 30-man, great. Like good for you. That's what if that's what you enjoy, that's great. But that doesn't mean your build is good. And so we're going to tie this back into the footage that I have in the background. I go back and forth between a few of these different players that I've described. Sometimes I want to optimize the best build on the best class. Sometimes I want to have the best build on another class. And sometimes I want to run some goofy stuff and get kills with it just because I just want to break the monotony. You know, like you just want to break the monotony of running the same stuff everybody else is running, and you want to do something different, and you want to find something else that's a little bit more different, and therefore it's just more enjoyable. I go back and forth between all these things. And so on my channel, I have a challenge video from a long time ago where on my Stamina Nightblade, I could not use a spammable. And so I had to use Roll Dodge as a spammable. So I used Eternal Hunt and Hide a Mori House, and my spammable was rolling around, knocking people down, and trying to get kills. And I got kills with it. Is it a good build? No. Were there a lot better options when that came out? Yes. Are there a lot better options now? Absolutely. How did I get kills? Well, I'm just I was a better player than the players that I was facing. And so that kind of carried that. I've had buddies that have sent me clips a couple patches ago when Nightblade was like insane in no proc. My buddy posted a 1v5 where he killed 5 people running Rubedo leather gear. No 5-piece sets, just gold weapons, Rubedo leather gear, and he went and nuked an entire group. I think we can all acknowledge that there's better builds out there than Rubedo leather. I think we can. Of course, somebody's going to disagree here, but that's okay. But yeah, he got that 1v5 because he was just a better player than those 5 other people. And there's some things that was and still is going on with the Nightblade that allows you to get away with abusing suboptimal gear sets. And so sometimes it's just your skill, sometimes it's the class, sometimes you're abusing a specific set or whatever that's so strong that it allows you to run other things. The footage you're watching right now, if you go back to the beginning of it, I'm running light Hundings on a Magic and Necromancer. Now, this was back in Markarth. I'm repeating it, but it's to show a point. My proc sets were so powerful that it allowed me to use a set that did not help me at all. Like this Hunding's Rage might as well have been almost Rubedo Leather because this is before hybridization of gear. This is a stamina-based set on a Magic and Necromancer. And so literally any Magicka set would have been better than Hunding's Rage here. Now, I'm going to get a bunch of kills because the procs that I'm running are very powerful, and I'm doing a bunch of damage because of the procs, but it's not a good build because that 5-piece is completely worthless. It is not a good set. Now, a lot of players, like I've talked about, they will post these sorts of footage. The first clip was me running BRP dual wield back when BRP dual wield was insane on a Magicka Templar as a bet. Kuroyuki wanted to bet me that I couldn't get a 1vx with BRP dual wield on a Magplar, and I did. And so it's not optimized. It's not a good build. It's just Some things are strong, some mechanics are strong to where you can get away with running some suboptimal stuff in some situations. And so some people will correlate that success with those different things. They'll be like, oh yeah, bro, this is a good build. This is a good build. And those aren't good builds. There's just some things going on there that allows me to get away with running some suboptimal stuff. So, like I said, some of it's skill, some of it's skills and abilities, some of it's burst combinations at the time. And yeah. And so now that we've all talked about PvP and all these different types of players, how do we tie this in to you new players? How do we figure out the best for us? Well, you got to dig a little deeper and you got to ask them a few more questions. So whether you're in guild chat, whether you're in Discord, or whether you're watching videos on YouTube, the next step for people trying to figure stuff out is to do a little bit of research and to ask a couple of questions. And so if you see somebody running a build and you're like, hey, you know, I see you're running Daedric Trickery on the back bar, and I see it's a bunch of defensive buffs. Like, how does that set work? Like, how does that set work? Why are you running this set over a set that gives resistances like Pariah? You're on a mag DK. Why aren't you running Buffer of the Swift? Players that are running sets like that should be able to provide reasons for you. Like, in this current meta, mythics are really strong. And so the one-piece set is really strong, which basically means that if I want to run a mythic and a monster set and 2 5-pieces and really try to optimize my build, I have to run like a front and back bar set, and Daedric Trickery can be back barred. That's a perfect example. Hey, you know, why are you running this stat-based set over Dark Convergence? Oh, Dark Convergence is stronger, but I like to get kills this way, and this is the best set from my testing on single target builds that's just stat-based. So I'm running this specific set. Oh, okay. Like, if people are running builds, they should be able to provide reasons to you. Whether it's in a guild chat or whatever, they should be able to explain stuff to you. If their explanation is, I get kills with it, bro, I'd dig a little bit further and I'd potentially look at finding another build, because that might not be what's for you. If you're a new player, more often than not, you're going to probably want a new build. You're probably going to want the best build possible, because although it doesn't matter a ton, it's nice knowing that you're dying due to a lack of skill or awareness in PvP, and not because of your build in PvP, which happens. You know, like we all go through these growing pains. We all go through this learning stage of trying to figure stuff out. And so figuring out what's a good build is that, like, okay, it's not my build, it's just me. I just have to get better. I have to get better at my build. I have to get better at this. I have to get better at PvP. I've eliminated a variable. If you follow somebody that's running Thunderbug and Adept Rider, and they're a 5-star that runs in a 30-man, and they're like, yeah, bro, I got 100,000 kills. I've been running this setup for years now. If you run that build and you're not having success with it, there's probably quite a few reasons. You know, it's probably your skill. There's a lot better builds out there for attempting to get kills. And yeah, you're not going to see as much success as you would in other situations. And so you have to just dig a little bit deeper. And PvP for all of us is trying to figure out what we want to run at that point in time. There's nothing wrong with saying, like, hey, you know, I don't have the new DLCs. I don't pay that kind of money. I just want the best crafted stuff, and I need a crafted front bar set or whatever, or a 5-piece body set. I don't have access to the mythics. What's the best for me? Well, that's going to be different than most people that have access to everything, right? Nice ESO and I, actually, he wanted me to mention him in this video. Before this hybridization patch came out on PC, this is still before it's coming out on Xbox and PS4, by the way, he's running a hybrid stamina sorcerer using like curse and crystal weapon and all these other sorts of things to try and get a very high burst combination, but he's running a hybrid. Now, New Moon is not one of the best sets for stamina based sets for a lot of reasons. Number one, in the current meta, being able to back bar and front bar sets is more in vogue than double barring a set. And so for that reason, there's just better front bar damage sets than New Moon. There's sets that give more healing and damage, just overall more stat dense sets, but it's crafted. And so for stamina classes, there are better options. Where New Moon really shines is the fact that it can be crafted and you don't have to farm for it. And so I have pointed out New Moon to people that don't have new DLCs. They don't want to farm a lot. They just want to do double AP event. And they want some gear now. Okay, well, here you go, new moon, you know? But for Nice, new moon is one of the few sets that is, before hybridization, that is weapon and spell damage and weapon and spell pen. And so when you're a build that is trying to use stamina and magicka abilities, that sort of versatility is very powerful. And honestly, before hybridization, that is the best set for him to run. And so it all depends on what you're running. It all depends on where you fit on this sliding scale of players. Sometimes the meta set is only the meta set because of certain things that you're doing. The minute you change a couple of variables, your sets change. And I'll provide an example from my point of view. A couple years ago, I was PvPing with Grim Hollow. Sorry, I'm just name dropping everybody in this video because that's what we're going to do. But I was PvPing with him, and I was running Shieldbreaker on my Nightblade, and he was running Spriggans and something else. And he's like, dude, why are you running Shieldbreaker over Spriggans? Spriggans is just a better damage set. Like, it's got, like, the pen is just more damage than Shieldbreaker. You're not facing that many Sorks. And I explained to him, my explanation was, yeah, you know, for this specific build, I'm not using Incap because Incap didn't have the knockdown. It had that stupid silence. And I was like, the silence is free immunity once you go over 120 ult. And I just hate that aspect of it. That free CC immunity. And I'd much rather just utilize full pen onslaught. Like if my onslaught was super buffed at this time, like I was hitting 19, 20k onslaughts. And then you get full pen, and then my spec bow would line up afterwards. So I was able to two-piece anybody where that combination landed. So that was my explanation. The Spriggans 5-piece does not buff onslaught, but Shieldbreaker does. And so I was getting more damage out of my onslaught, my killing combination with Shieldbreaker, than I was with Spriggans. And so when you change your one ultimate to something like that, all of a sudden the best build for you changes. All of a sudden, it changes a little bit. Now, was Shieldbreaker at the time the best set for everybody? No, as a front bar set, Spriggans was better. Essence Thief, if you picked up the Essence, was better. But for that specific build, utilizing Onslaught and utilizing the full pen and getting the full pen on Onslaught and Spec Bow, that set was better than what the meta was at the time. And so for that specific build. Now, I'm not saying it was optimized to run Onslaught. I mean, I would argue that it was, because Onslaught was that busted and it got nerfed for a reason, but to each their own. It's kind of semantics at that point, like what you prefer. But yeah, that's the point of, you know, testing out different gear and trying to figure out what's best for you. Sometimes you stray a little bit from the meta because you run a different ultimate or you run a different skill layout, and a different skill layout points you in a different direction than what everybody else is running. And so, yeah, that's the end of this video. If you guys have any questions or comments, please provide in the section below. I missed you guys. I've been busy. I will explain all that in the future. I've just been busy with the house, vacation. We're flipping a house right now, and so it's just a lot of my free time has been going towards that. But yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions. Thank you for watching, guys. Have a nice day.